Welcome back to Crosshair here on the GDQ Hotfix. Folks, we're going to chug right along in our current episode titled Okay Boomer Shooters Volume 2 with a little run called NecroVision by a dear speed friend of mine, Gulch2. Gulch, how you doing, sir?
Excellent. I'm so excited to be here showing off some NecroVision.
Heck yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah, so this is NecroVision. It is a World War I FPS horror game. It's the premise is that it's an alternate history horror game, so definitely follows the true path of the story of World War I. It's very interesting. I also have Astrid and Smumbler here to help me with commentary. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hey, I'm Astrid the Horror Girl. I'm responsible for this somewhat. This game is wild.
And hi, I'm Schmumbler. I've officially run about half of this game before.
Nice.
Yeah, and they're both avid runners of NecroVision Lost Company, which you might have seen me run before. It is the prequel to this game, so if you're familiar with that, we get to carry on the story here in NecroVision 1. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, click on New Game, and the time's going to start once we get control of our character. I'll point that out as well. So it's going to skip 2 cutscenes here. It's going to start.
1916. Get up, soldier.
And go.
Good luck.
All right. Thank you. As we're getting into this, you want to explain the trick I'm using here, Ashton Smumbler?
Yep. This is what you'll see throughout this entire run, which is known as the rifle jump. Essentially, it is this neat little trick where if you are running and jumping and doing a melee trick on the correct frame, which we actually make sure that we're running at a slower frame rate just so that we can get this frame perfect trick at the right time, your character just launches into the air forward. And if you get it right, it really gives you a great speed boost and great trajectory going forward. If you're a little bit slow, it can just send you straight up. If you're a little bit slower than that, it'll send you backwards. And if you're too slow, you won't even move at all. It really is just a very, very difficult trick to master. But I think out of everyone here, I think it's safe to say that Gulch is the one who has mastered this art the most.
Yeah.
It is just so much fun to play around with and so addicting. And I highly recommend, if you're interested in what you're seeing here, to check out these games, even just from a casual perspective, because they're just so much fun.
Yeah, because you're definitely not going to be seeing most of the game here. Since we're able to just launch ourselves like this, there's a lot of terrain that we're going to be able to navigate, a lot of invisible walls that we're going to go past. But weirdly enough, there's also a lot of danger involved with that, especially in these early levels, because there's a lot of kill planes that are in the sky. So you have to know where you're launching so that you don't just wreck yourself.
Mm-hmm.
This little fort area is the biggest issue with that, because there's only a 10-foot gap that you can actually get in without hitting one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a right before we got into this area, there's a specific horizontal jump I have to do in order to miss a death plane. If I try to recorrect after a vertical or anything like that, I will just die. And I've tried to find different routes around this area because we kind of just take a roundabout way to get here, but there's so many death planes around everywhere in the out of bounds section, so lots of dodging those invisible barriers.
Also, in case you didn't know, the real villains of World War I were the wizards, obviously.
Well, we can dig into a little bit of the lore. I think it's important, that we take this moment to truly educate people about the true goings-on of World War I. You see, right now, this is following this American soldier who has been captured by the Germans in World War I, who are taking them to, of course, everyone knows the Grand Master of Architect of the undead army that was plaguing the fields in Europe in World War I. This American soldier who is being sent to be experimented on because of that, to be turned into a super soldier that is going to be possessed by a demon because, of course, the vampires chose this one German soldier, Zimmerman. You'd know this. You read your textbooks in high school. And the vampires are trying to wage a war underground against the demons, who have restricted the movement of the dragons considerably. And as Satan is trying to wage this war down there, they are attempting to recruit some humans who, of course, just happen to be doing their world war up there. But just throwing that out there, just so everyone understands. And it's unclear what side the wizards are on in this war. I think that they're on the vampire side, but I cannot be too sure.
Astrid, I'm going to be honest. It seems like you're engaging in a little bit of revisionist history here. Yes. Going to call you Astrid, the revisionist girl.
Yes. So we kind of skipped over this now that we're out of bounds, but the whole running into a pole over and over again, trying to get through a tiny gap in the ceiling, that's probably one of the hardest skips that you can do in this game. Normally, we would just do a rifle jump to get up on top of the roofs, but in this level, there are no rifles, so we have to make do with what we have. Now that we're done with that, we're just climbing along the rooftops here to get to the end of the level, and once we get there, we'll have to find a way to clip back in bounds in order to actually trigger the ending.
Yeah, and that skip that we did was to skip a boss fight. You can see the boss health bar up at the top. Every single boss has that, and I think it's just so funny. Just boss and that
Just
big
says
old
boss.
bold, yeah, big old bold letterings.
Imagine you're playing Elden
also-
Ring and you go through a boss door and it just says boss.
It's also fascinating that the first time you ever have a boss fight in this game, it's not even a real singular boss enemy. It's multiple enemies that are just like, you just chip away at them, and each time you kill one of them, the health bar goes down. So the first time you have a boss fight, it's not even a boss fight.
It's a gank fight.
Nice.
And yeah, right at the end there, I just was jumping into that corner and spamming crouch in order to clip through that. It's really tricky. I really don't know what makes it work versus what doesn't. I just keep on doing it until it does. Immediately in this level, we're going to get out of bounds and start doing some more rifle jumps to carry ourselves through the map.
The nice thing about that out of bounds, though, is that you can literally just walk into it.
Just walk along the mountains and you're out.
These rifle jumps are so funny.
When I got to a point in this game, because I discovered these games and saw that there were people who speedran these a long time ago, and me and Schmumbler did some work on trying to figure out the tech that was used on these runs. And there were a couple people that did some runs that one might consider glitchless or no major glitches. And when we kind of got like the community together and everything, I was like, we should come up with some rules for no major glitches. And like, for one, like, how about like no out of bounds? And the original moderator of this leaderboard just wrote, "Good luck trying to define what out of bounds is in this game."
My main run is Doom 2016, and we had almost that exact conversation verbatim in that game too. So I feel that in my soul.
One thing I didn't mention
We've
about...
made it to the ruins here.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. One thing I didn't mention about rifle jumps is that it's pretty dependent on what ground that you're standing on. So you can really only do them on flat surfaces or surfaces that are on an incline. Declined surfaces like hills and stuff make it impossible to do the rifle jumps. So I'm always looking for a specific ground that I know works for rifle jumps. So it may seem at times I'm just running into arbitrary places, but it's all for a purpose. And here's our first boss fight. You just kill this little ogre, and then the ground collapses into the end level trigger.
October the 1st, 1916. I don't know how, but I escaped.
Hey, Astrid, I have a question for you.
What's up?
So, you said that we're an American soldier, right?
Uh-huh.
I thought we were following the British Army.
Ah, yes. You might think that because the start of this game, it tells you join the British Army and fight in the trenches of World War I. And then you press it and you see that you're an American soldier. The first level, technically, you realize that you're in a joint operation with the British, but they die immediately within the first 2 minutes of the game. Now, a fun fact about that is the same exact message appears in this game's prequel, NecroVision Lost Company, join the British Army and fight in the trenches of World War I. But there is not one British soldier in that game, including yourself, a German soldier in that game. They literally just copy and pasted that message of start new game from NecroVision 1 and put it onto NecroVision Lost Company.
Yep, famous German soldier who joins an American soldier for one level.
Yes.
Okay, I have to say it because it popped into my head. I have to say it. Astrid the Lorer Girl. Boom, done.
Mic drop.
Oh, I hear a doggo.
This burden.
Taste some justice, you bosh bastards.
So there's somewhere on this bridge, there's a trigger to load in this next area. It looks like we hit it. There's been so many times that I've gone through this area just running back and forth on the bridge trying to get it to spawn because I have no idea where it is. But yeah, I just try to copy exactly what I do each time, so there's just no mistakes to be made. But it can be pretty mean, and you can still access the area, but it's just completely pitch black. Everything loads out, and you can technically still complete the level. If you look at, shout out real quick to Run Invalid. They're the main, it's a competition where a group of speedrunners face off against each other and route the game together and put together a segmented speedrun of a game that hasn't been run before. So that's kind of how NecroVision and NecroVision Lost Company were originally routed. And then we kind of took that as a community and made some optimizations and kind of put together the run that you're seeing today. But
Nice.
yeah, the Run Invalid folks are still going strong. They just actually had an event with 4 different teams routing and speedrunning a game called Sophia. There's a really cool video made about that as well, about the journey of all of that, and it's really interesting run.
I think this is also supposed to be the part of this game where you're supposed to be like really excited because you get this really cool mech, but it's really slow and it's really not that helpful. So unfortunately we have to ride it here to get to the end of the level and have it trigger, but we're going to be abandoning this thing every chance we get.
Spiders, living dead, walking tank.
And the next level will spawn right in this the same tank that we're in right now. But we'll be dropping out of it immediately because we can actually hit the boss transition without being in the mech. So unfortunately for the last one, we have to be in the mech, but for this one, for whatever reason, we don't. So we're just going to go back to our fastest strat of rifle jumping, just flying around the map. And coming up here, if you're familiar with the Lost Company NecroVision, the prequel to this game, we're actually going to be facing the main protagonist in that game right here in a couple phase boss fight. So starts off in a scorpion mech, which is so incredibly epic. This is one of my favorite fights in the game, and we're going to be doing it in our mech. We'll spawn back in even though we're on ground here on our foot, but now we're back in the mech, and we're pretty much just going to be unloading on the scorpion mech, and it's essentially a 3-phase fight here. He's going to go to the middle of the arena once he gets to a certain health. And then these pylons are going to spawn. And I want to destroy those as soon as possible because once that pylon makes that little electrical connection with the scorpion mech, it'll immediately start regenerating its health. So the faster I kill it, the less health it'll have. And the faster the fight will be. So that's 2 out of 3 done right there. And we're really not scared of any of his attack besides his flamethrower one. That one does a lot of damage. But here we're killing the last pylon. And now we can just kind of run up to the scorpion mech and finish him off. Now, this is only the first phase of this boss. We're going to be able to fight Zimmerman, who's the main antagonist of the protagonist of the last game, in a gunfight. So,
Plan was perfect. I am perfect. I cannot be defeated by some miserable human being.
He says as he gets defeated by a miserable human being. Ugh.
It's classic.
Ugh.
the voice acting in this game, the dialogue, it is just some top tier content. I love it so much. There's so many quotable lines of dialogue in this game. So to start off this fight, we're just going to beeline it right to this light machine gun. I'm going to take out our dual machine guns. And then Zimmerman, okay. He starts off flying and he'll come down and attack us. So now that he's close, we're just going to unload on him. And I'm actually going to stop shooting him here because if I try to kill him before I hit the ground below me, it'll actually crash the game. So you can go too fast here. And it's really hard to hit Zimmerman when he's flying up here, so I kind of want him to fly down to me. I'm not going to do... There we go. I'm not going to do as much damage if I try to shoot him while he's up there. But that's the boss fight there.
Nice.
So Zimmerman's defeated, and now we pick up the Vampire Glove. It'll give us some additional powers that'll get filled from a bar meter that we have that's on our health bar in the bottom left-hand corner. And it's like the yellow bar that surrounds the health bar. So you'll see that fill up from time to time.
The snow was melted.
I want to point out something that, like, there is so much more of this game to go. And that was Zimmerman. So you consider the choice that was made for the prequel to be like, you know that guy that we had the main protagonist defeat in like level 6 of the game? What if we just made him the protagonist of the next game that we do? I think that that's amazing.
It's also really funny then when you have people do the games in reverse order and play Lost Company before starting this one. Then they get to the Zimmerman fight and they're like, wow, I'm already at the final boss.
Yeah.
And then you realize you're not even halfway.
Yep.
You again. And you brought along some stronger buddies this
Yeah,
time.
that was just the end of chapter 5, and there's 12 chapters in total and a prologue chapter, which we already got through. So technically chapter 0 is what we started off with. So we just saw over there, you might have missed it, we just jumped past the wizard that we faced in the first level. We'll see him again though. Fortunately, we'll get a little showdown with him.
You know what?
But unfortunately, it is the most annoying boss fight in the game, in my opinion. So there's that.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that fight when it comes up. It is grueling. Whether you are doing it casually or in the speedrun, it's kind of a miserable experience.
So this vampire artifact spawned, which sometimes it doesn't. I think there's probably just a trigger that I miss occasionally. But that'll help us with boss fights because it'll let us get our fury meter up more. So I have to do a horizontal jump. Those horizontal jumps are frame perfect, where the vertical rifle jumps that I'm getting here just rely on you getting the correct button inputs. But getting the horizontal jumps, you have to hit your jump and melee button a frame after you start sprinting forward. And there's an orb to end the level. I don't know why, but yay, orbs.
Orb.
All right. I'm going to pick up this vampire shotgun. This is probably the second strongest weapon in the game, the strongest being the LMG, but we won't have the opportunity to get any more LMG ammo, so this will be our main damage dealer throughout the rest of the run. Going to clip over this.
I hope you enjoyed our friend the mech there for the brief moment that we got to see it.
Mm-hmm. There's actually an alternate route that if you watch the Run Invalid submissions, the showcase that they did, there's one team that used the mechs to clip the walls in this level. So that's pretty interesting. It's definitely slower than rifle jumping, and going out of bounds this way. So we don't do it here, but it is pretty interesting to see the type of strats that the two different teams came up with and things like that.
Something to...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, this...
Just, I think that it's really incredible that, like, for NecroVision Lost Company, it was like, Run Invalid, of course, they found so many things, and then, like, I optimized some stuff, and then Schmumbler optimized some stuff, Gulch optimized some stuff, and we all worked together on, and of course, Prisoner, of course, did so much in Lost Company as well, and we worked so hard to optimize that run for what it is. What you are seeing with NecroVision 1 is largely just Gulch. Just applying the logic of Lost Company and just being, surely that will work in NecroVision as well. And doing the research, looking at the run, routing it out, optimizing. Pretty much all of this is all Gulch for NecroVision 1.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the pathing even that he's taking is stuff that, like, this is a far cry from the route that we had even in the segmented Run Invalid competition videos.
Yeah, the time comparatively, the world record time for this game is probably at least, I think it's at like 6 minutes faster than the first place Run Invalid, which, you know, it is like using a combination of all the strats of teams, so it's not the best comparison, but it is cool to see at the same time. But,
by the way, here's that terrible boss fight.
I might want to reload here, actually. This, my health is way too low. You have a period of iframes, but if I do it too early and get my iframes too early, I risk having a very bad time with this boss fight. So I'm actually gonna play this safe and use the fireballs on these enemies and get rid of them as much as possible. The fastest strat is just to ignore them completely, but yeah, it's just very risky for a marathon setting. And one thing I didn't mention is on the way here, there's a lot of enemy spawn triggers that I miss. So if I was just running through, there could potentially be 2 or 3 times more amounts of enemies than we have right now. So it can get really scary.
Yeah, this fight is just miserable lots of times, because the only way this fight ends is if the wizard that Gulch is trying to shoot dies, and it is extremely hard with, again, playing this casually, like triple the amount of enemies that you have seen. It's wild. It's such a miserable fight, but you honestly did really well there.
Thank you. Yeah, that went pretty well.
You know, the funny thing that just did not get touched on at all there, too, is that Vampire SMG in particular has a fun little quirk where if you mash the mouse button, you not only fire faster and do more damage, but sometimes the game just forgets that you run out and reloads the gun for you without sticking you in the long animation. So, yeah, there were a few times there that you would see the ammo just reach 0 and then Gulch would keep shooting.
So this section here, there's going to be a crusher that comes down, and normally you're not able to bypass that without turning it off. But we can actually abuse the iframes that we get in this game to get through it with these. So I'm just going to rifle jump over here and set up. This is like a new version of this trick that I just put into this route to make it a bit easier. And once we get down to 1 HP, we're going to run through. You hit the checkpoint, so I'm going to save. And I'm going to try to do a rifle jump, but it's really hard because we're slowed down, so the timing's not the same. And there's a bunch of enemies outside of that crusher, and I'm already used up my iframes getting through it. So we kind of just have to hope I land this rifle jump to get away from these enemies. Okay, we should be good. There we go. Very nice.
Really well done.
Thank you, thank you.
Also, yes, it did say defeat Skeletor.
I was going to say
It did say
something.
that.
So for the rest of this level, we're just going to be rifle jumping towards the end. Not a whole lot to cover, so it might be a good time for any announcements.
Oh heck yeah, I got plenty. Folks, we haven't talked about it yet. GDQ's next all women and femmes speedrunning event, Frost Fatales 2025, will be live starting this Sunday, March 9th, all the way through the 16th, and it is benefiting the National Women's Law Center. You can visit gamesdonequick.com/framefatales for more information on the event, or use FF and Twitch chat to check out the schedule. And if you look at that schedule, you'll see on Tuesday that there might be a little somebody running another horror game in that marathon. I think that runner's name is Astrid the Horror Girl, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
Never heard of her.
Never heard of her.
It's going to be
time for
very
more?
cool. You should check it out. Yeah. Go ahead.
Heck yeah. Yeah, if you want to also support GDQ Hotfix, we do have a shirt that you can purchase over at theyeti.com/GDQ. The season 4 shirt. It's got all the logos from all the Hotfix shows for season 4. You got the Crosshair logo on there. You got the Speedruns from the Crypt logo on there, which is coming up after this. You got all our shows, Parallel Universe, Game Masters, Passion Project. All of them are on there. It's a really, really cool shirt. It's got a Coop, our little our little mascot. So head on over to theyeti.com/GDQ. You can get one for yourself, and it goes to support GDQ Hotfix, support shows like Crosshair, and all the other shows we feature here on Hotfix.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So now we're on technically you could say, I guess, a vehicle section. It's flying section. NecroVision Lost Company has a plane section very similar to this, where you're kind of just stuck in your vehicle the whole level. This time we're flying on a dragon. We can do some damage here with our flame. We'll be having, a boss fight later on with that as well. But we're just kind of be navigating through this cave, fighting a bunch of enemies. We'll skip a majority of this level. You're intended to do the whole level, or at least most of the level on the dragon, and destroy a bunch of pylons, but we'll be skipping it just shortly after this next section here.
Like that you call that a vehicle section.
Yeah.
Like I at one point tried to convince chat that fists are bullets to justify having a beat 'em up on Crosshair, but I guess if I'm gonna make that argument, I can't argue with you calling a dragon a vehicle. So
Yeah, it's a way to get
you
around.
Get away with that.
It counts. So here we're gonna actually want to switch to this. Okay, we're gonna destroy these little pylons here. It's what creates this magical energy field that's keeping our dragon in place. And we got places to be, so we want to kill these pylons and get out of here. There's a slowdown here, so I can't really rifle jump. I'm just gonna wait for it to be over.
Which is always risky because the slowdown happens when you get to basically 1 HP. It gives you a slowdown, and you get some iframes to be able to get out of it. And if you can't, then it's like, all right, well, we tried. We tried to save you from that.
And you get melted in seconds. This game can be pretty brutal with the enemies. This is on the easiest difficulty too, and you just get absolutely melted sometimes. It's pretty ridiculous. I can't.
Oh yeah, this game is extremely difficult, which is one of the many reasons that I tell people NecroVision Lost Company is not only just a more accessible speedrun, but it's also like, it feels like it's a game that you can actually win sometimes.
Yeah.
This one's mean, extremely mean.
Yeah, even from a
Lost Company
speedrunning.
has the benefit where, like, a lot of the times, even when you get low on health, your health will just start regenerating as you kill things. So it's not that bad. And you kind of get that here too, but their DPS is way higher than your regeneration.
And when we're doing rifle jumps, there's a bunch of enemies around and shooting at you. You can actually be pushed backwards in the opposite direction you're intending to go, so they can kind of keep you trapped, just forced to take their bullets. It's nice when works the inverse way, where they're pushing you towards the direction you want to go, because you actually get more speed and distance, but most of the time you're trying to jump past enemies, so they're shooting directly at you and making you,
You can try to stop
pushing
me,
you back a
but
little
you
bit.
gotta do better than that.
But here we're just flying towards the end section. We're going to have another situation where we dismount from the dragon. And we're actually going to be using a technique that we haven't really got to show off too much because this game doesn't have as many spots to do it. But we'll be using the side of the mountain to climb up and over out of bounds. So right up here, just going to go walking on the side of this mountain. Just as simple as moving forward, looking up, get boosted up. And
Skyrim flashbacks.
And once we get on top of this area here, there's going to be a spot for us to drop down out of bounds. And we're going to try to get ourselves over towards a cave where normally you're just supposed to fly your dragon into the end of level trigger, but we can just walk on the outside of this cave and hit it. It extends pretty far upwards, so I'm going to try to hit a rifle jump here to boost myself into it, and there we go.
Nice.
If you're wondering why Gulch still says rifle jump, the gauntlet is a rifle somehow.
Yes,
So-
it's just locked into my vocabulary, the rifle jump.
Yeah. No, it is for all of us because when we were routing out NecroVision Lost Company, we assumed that you could only do it with a rifle because we tried and tried and tried with other weapons and we couldn't get it until one day we did and found that, it's just extremely difficult to get it with other weapons. But at that point, we were already calling it rifle jump, so it stuck.
Yep.
Yeah, the timing is a little different between different weapon classes and also just the general leaping properties change based on the weapon. Like, technically, you can do a rifle jump with the handgun too, but it barely gives you any momentum, so it really doesn't matter.
Ooh, okay, we're gonna have to restart this here. So here I'm trying to get Azazel to keep on pushing me back. I think, let me try to just readjust here. Okay. We want him to keep on doing this attack because he's trying to push us away so that we're at a good distance where he can do his other attack. But here, we're just getting pushed back into the corner since we're sitting here, and we're kind of just holding M1 and praying that this works. There's a bunch of enemies around that are shooting me while I do this, and hopefully I just win the health battle here. Looks like I should be good. Yep.
Nice.
So that was the first phase of this boss fight with Azazel while he's on his little Cerberus dragon type enemy. He spares him here, I guess, puts him out of his misery, and now we get to fight him in his full winged glory.
So as you can see, this is basically a Souls game.
The real question, though, is if he fights better off the dragon, why was he riding it in the first place?
Yeah, that's a
Oh.
good question. He seems to have more mobility with his own wings. What are we doing here?
This is like the opposite of Nameless King from Dark Souls 3.
So here we're just using our handy-dandy vampire shotgun, which I mentioned earlier is the second strongest weapon in the game. The LMGs do the most damage per second, but we don't get access to that ammo all that often. So I'm just going to be using the jump pad to kind of avoid some enemy hits while I focus on shooting him as much as possible.
Defeat taste. I can't be stopped. You hear me? No demon, no monster, no enemy has the strength. Who's going to be the next to die?
Only one demon remains to oppose us. The Devil King, the Lord of the Flies. Mephisto
I read that book in high school.
himself.
Excuse me, but isn't the Lord of the Flies Beelzebub?
Well, if you had paid attention in that history class when we learned all about this in World War I history.
About all the vampires and werewolves in
Yeah.
World War I.
Exactly.
All right, this is the second last level of the game. Here,
Wow.
we are we're meant to just go around and walk up a bunch of pathways, fight a bunch of enemies in order to get to the top of this area here, but we're going to be doing some climbing on the side of the mountain in order to circumvent all of that fighting. Just trying to get a rifle jump to get
Honestly,
over here, but
These bits were always my favorite parts of Lost Company, because the inclines on cliffs like this, they can literally just slingshot you at times.
And we'll hopefully be able to get to see that because I just routed in this new trick right here. Instead of rifle jumping up, I'm going to use this corner of collision here. And if I can hit it just right, it should take us flying to the moon.
Whee!
Incredible.
And all the way up there.
Wow.
Good find.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, that saves a good chunk of time for sure.
And level trigger is right on this path right here. And we are going into the last level of the game where we face off against the Devil King Mephisto. Can't say his name.
The actual worst fight in the game.
Yeah.
He's a big one, ain't he?
So we get back into a mech similar to what we saw in the Zimmerman fight, in the Scorpion mech fight. This one's a little different. We don't get the lob grenades like we did in that fight. Here we get a power up where we just kind of shoot these like white orbs, and we get that filled up when any enemy dies. I don't even necessarily have to kill them. They can just run into the boss, and I'll get some charges or run into me. So that's that alternate fire you just saw there, and I'll just be shooting that at any as much as I can whenever I get the power up. This is the only phase in the boss fight where I'll be shooting in the mech. It's actually really slow to use the mech, but I just simply don't have enough ammo to fight the last boss on foot.
Gotcha.
So we'll be doing that for the last two phases of the boss fight, but here we'll just be spraying and praying, dodging his fireballs, attack from time to time. And we're going to be transported to another section of the arena where here I'll get out and equip my handy dandy vampire shotgun. Now, similar to the power up with the mech, with the alternate fire, whenever enemies die or run into me, I'll get my power up from my vampire glove, which will throw those fireballs. They do a lot of damage. So just comboing that with the shotgun just really melts this boss down. And once we get this boss down to a certain health, we'll transition to the third and final area of this boss fight where we'll just be rinsing, repeating, and doing the same thing. Now might be a good time for shout-outs. Astrid and Schwumbler, if you have anything you want to mention.
Yeah,
I
big
guess...
shout out to Gulch for routing this game out and for Astrid for putting the community together.
Yeah, Astrid put in a lot of work to put this community together. So yeah, huge shout out to Astrid.
I just want people to run these ridiculous games, all right? I guess my only shout out after all that, which thanks y'all. Frost Fatales next week. Y'all
Heck
be sure to tune in. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh, we have a little bit of slowdown here. I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm just gonna save and wait for my health to regenerate a bit before I start fighting him again.
Yes, we're in the era of auto refill health.
Yep.
When every shooter had that.
Ooh. Unfortunate. That's okay.
So close.
I saved that before, so maybe we'll use our shotgun instead. Don't have any. Very mean.
Oof.
All right, let's try something else. Let's run away from these manta rays. Play very scared for a second here. Say it again. This should be fine.
Manta rays were the scourge of World War I.
And that's time.
GG. Well done.
Thank you.
What a final cutscene.
Yeah, it's so epic. I love it.
What?
I have no idea what's going on, but yeah, and thank you, Astrid and Schwumber, for both being here. I appreciate it. It's always so much fun getting to show off NecroVision with you both. It wouldn't be a NecroVision one without you. So thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you for running it.
Of course.
Yeah, any plugs you want to give? Tell people where they can find you, what you're doing, what you're up to, what you're learning to run, what you're planning to learn to run. Hit us with it.
Yeah, you can follow me at twitch.tv/Gulch2. I mainly these days do NecroVision and Bioshock are my main things. Bioshock is probably what I'll be running in the near future. Bioshock 1, Bioshock 2, Bioshock Infinite. Play all of those games. So yeah, if you like the Bioshock games or if you like NecroVision, feel free to check me out.
Come on, I'll help you get back to your side and
Very nice. Cool. And Bioshock is one of those games where I've been looking at the whole franchise like, oh man, we could totally get Bioshock out on Crosshair and just do like a Bioshock episode. We'll have to figure out how that's all going to work because those are not long runs, but putting them all together, it's starting to squeak a little too close to that 3-hour mark. So
yeah,
we'll have to do that. So we might have you back on in a future episode of Crosshair just to have Bioshock on because that's a great run too.
I would love to.
Heck yeah. And Schmumbler and Astrid, did you want to plug yourselves as well?
I play horror games and speedrun horror games over at twitch.tv/AskForTheHorrorGirl, if anyone's ever interested in that.
I sometimes stream at Schmumbler. Not very often, though.
You stream enough. I catch your stream sometimes, but alrighty. Well, thank you all for showing this off. I was so happy that I saw NecroVision in the list, and I was like, yes, I gotta get this on for an episode for another Boomer Shooter episode, and it was a lot of fun to watch. So thank you for showing it off. It was super cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much.